All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, also co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us wherever you're watching from, whether it's live or if you're joining us after the fact, after this stream has aired. As you well know, every weekend we try to make it a point to give you a rundown of the goings on in the world of entertainment in the show that we have known as This Week in Pop Culture. Typically, we do this on Saturdays, but every once in a while, we have to change up the schedule and do it on Sundays just by virtue of, schedules that me and my co-hosts have or just based on, other things that are going on that weekend. And sometimes we're able to squeeze in, having this show on Sunday, and sometimes we have to just do a buy. It just is what it is. But be that as it may, welcome to, as I said, This Week in Pop Culture for this week. And of course, I'm not going to be alone in talking about some of the goings on that has happened in pop culture and entertainment. So I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? And happy Community Day to all my Pokemon Go players. Get you some Beldums and get you a Metagross. Hopefully he's shiny.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So, without that out of the way, let's not keep the folks waiting and we'll dive into our first story. So, let me bring that up now. So, in talking about, one of the things that did, transpire or happen this week, this past Wednesday, Sony provided a new look at the latest entry in the MCU adjacent Spider-Man universe that they have with their film Craven the Hunter. Starring Aaron Taylor Johnson in the titular role of the popular member of the Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, the film will seek to provide audiences with the origin story of how and why one of Marvel's most iconic villains came to be. Touching on the character's complex relationship with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravenov, played by Russell Crowe, the film will see the character start down a path of vengeance with brutal consequences, motivating him to not only become one of the greatest hunters in the world, but also one of its most feared. Now, in talking about the trailer in and of itself, the blood-soaked trailer, let me be more
Blood
specific,
soaked.
not only seeks to promise, yeah, not only seeks to promise the film's likely R rating that it will receive, but also provides a clear glimpse of the film's villain and fellow Spider-Man rogue, the Rhino. Now, Smillman, you had a chance to check out this trailer. What are your first impressions, your thoughts? I mean, we've already had a trailer of this film, but I know that the film had been, from what I recall, being delayed. So I'm sure that they had some time to, go back in there and fine tune some things. What are your thoughts on what has been shown of this film?
Well, looking at this film, I feel like I like the gore. I'm wondering if they're trying to go with the anti-hero element angle on this one. Which, personally, I don't like. I don't think that you can take a character like Craven the Hunter who hunts big game and stuff and make them into a non-villain. Because them animals ain't do nothing to Craven. Why you shooting these animals, Craven? They showed some of his healing factor, which is really cool. They didn't show him in ballerina slippers, which I was a little bit frustrated by. But I imagine they're going to make a ballerina slipper joke in the movie. I'm just warning you, ladies and
Sure,
gentlemen. I'm
sure.
clairvoyant. I've got my chakras open, and my third eye is to the streets. I also saw a few villains on there. You can see a glimpse of Rhino, and it's a more Rhino-y Rhino rather than like the Paul Giamatti robot Rhino, which was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a glimpse of a guy in red sunshades who I imagine is the Rose. I didn't imagine they would do a movie with the Rose in it. The Rose is a rogue from the 80s that was like Kingpin's son. But I don't know if that's the Rose, but the guy had red glasses on. He definitely looked like the Rose to me. So that would be very cool to have that underworld element in it because, that's always a good question. Like, how do these bad guys all end up in New York? Well, they all everywhere too. They just happen to be like, no, we knew this dude was kind of thorough, so we brought him to New York just for you, Spidey. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm interested in it. It looks pretty cool. Very gory. I mean, the trailer definitely you couldn't see that at a Marvel movie. Like if I took my son to a movie, you would never see that trailer. So I'm interested in it. How do you feel about it, B?
So I have a couple of thoughts. Probably some of them you are already, aware of. I when I was describing, the film, I was talking about how it is MCU adjacent and how it is kind of become like the the ill-regarded, like, black sheep of the MCU, where it's not. I mean, it has characters that are technically a part of Marvel, but they have this weird dichotomy of, like, are they a part of the MCU, but are they not? Like, there are a couple of characters that have, hopped over to the MCU, and there's some characters that haven't. And then on top of that, too, outside of what we had, when we were growing up in what high school, what we had with the Spider-Man films, if we're, being very honest, outside of the Spider-Man films that we've had with Sam Raimi, Sony has not had the best track record with their Spider-Man, esque Spider-Man
Morbius. I'm
universe.
sorry, I had something in my
I
throat
mean,
that
don't
just
get
fell
me
out.
wrong. Venom was a guilty pleasure. It was fun, but at the same time, you can't really do Venom without having Spider-Man a part of it. And it was always weird and how, like, that came together of trying to make that work without having Spider-Man. Um and just like you were saying, in terms of having like that the anti-hero element, it it just seems kind of weird to have these characters that are villains and trying to force them to be heroes. Like, one of the main things that make these characters cool is the fact that they are villains. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm sure people can pull up instances where a lot of these villains have values or objectives that, end up aligning with some of the heroes just because of circumstance. But outside of maybe those isolated incidents, they're in essence villains. So whether you want to, make them three-dimensional characters, that's all fine and good, but at the end of the day, they are villains, and that's why we love a lot of these characters, is because they are villains. So I'm I'm a little skeptical about this film. I'm still going to check out the film, but I am somewhat skeptical, and I will have low expectations going in, because, as I said, outside of the Raimi Spider-Man films that came out, this is like 2 decades ago. It's hard to believe we're talking about early 2000s. Outside of those films, we've been burned by the Sony Spider-Man films. We've been burned, by, like I said, if I'm pulling out, the fact that Venom was a relatively fun film, we've been burned by everything else. We've been
Yep.
burned by Morbius. We've been burned by what was the most recent Madam Web. Like,
Yep.
so
I didn't even see
I
Madam
don't
Web. It
know.
was so bad.
I don't know. And it just seems like it's trying to take advantage of the current landscape right now with superheroes. I mean, what, we just had Deadpool and Wolverine come out, and it's demonstrated that, people are ready to do more R-rated films. And I say more R-rated films because this isn't the first time we've had an R-rated film. I'm tired of people, like, not crediting, the Blade films that were rated R and did
Yeah.
well. So I'm just saying that now folks are again ready to start, having those, R-rated films, and are demonstrating that, because I know for a while with some of the superhero films that we were having, it a lot of people were saying, okay, it looks like we're hitting that wall, and it's not. I feel like, whether a film is rated R, whether a film is PG-13, it really at the end of the day is about making sure that you're doing a story um, that complements the character. If it's a character that's extremely violent, then yeah, by all means, make it a rated R film. Like the Venom films, for example, even though they were successful, I still feel like it would have done far better if they were rated R films versus PG-13 films, and they were allowed to do more versus what we got. So I don't know. I'm still planning on seeing it, but it just seems like whoever, and this is credit to the editor, whoever edited the trailers very well, and it makes you want to check out the film. But I feel like the finished product is not what we're going to get. Is not what we think we're going to get. So
Well, I mean, what you're saying essentially is Craven the Hunter is a standalone movie. Would be great as a 3 minute short. Like it'd be great. They could throw a ballerina slippers joke in there. You like, oh look, it's ballerina slippers. He's wearing the slippers. Like I also think that Sony famously had Spider Man, but it wasn't Spider Man. Like the Japanese Spider Man from the '70s, like he was like a man that was a spider. Like they was like, all right, he's a man that's a spider. We got it from here. I think it gets lost in the translation, and I think that's kind of what happens with the brass, where they're just like, it's close enough. So to me, I feel like it's just they have that contract and they have to make a certain number of Spider-Man movies to keep that contract. And Spider-Man prints money. My son, he wants Spider-Man everything. So I get why they do it, but it's not good. It's just like, what are y'all doing, Sony? Like the live action stuff is kind of hokey, but like they do well with the Spider-Verse cartoons and stuff. Those are cool.
yeah, they're excellent. They're excellent. But this live action, what they're doing with like the ancillary, rogues gallery of Spider-Man villains and making them all, anti-heroes, like
Like why?
needs
Why
to,
do they again?
put
How are you in today's climate? They got Peter out there. They're gonna throw some paint on Peter. Peter gonna throw some paint on Craven at that premiere, guaranteed. They're gonna get somebody. Somebody they're gonna be somebody in a cage or dressed up like a sad cow or something. It's gonna happen. Because I mean it's just I know that in the '60s a hunter was a scary thing, but it also wasn't like a hey man, that's kind of not a cool thing to do. But it's 2024, and it's not a cool thing to do anymore. Like we understand if you're hunting to eat, but that's not what Craven does. Craven is a sport hunter. That's a amoralistic thing that you can't really make into an anti-hero. But I feel like we're going to get a cool scene. I saw a wolf in there, and then before the wolf, he didn't have the like hair on his back. But then after the wolf, he had the hair on his back. So it's like obviously the wolf is the hair on his back, which is kind of cool. But again, I didn't see no ballerina slippers, and I want to see some flippers.
Fair enough. If it sounds like as long as you get your ballerina slippers,
That's right.
you'll have it checked off. You'll
Yeah,
have what you want.
he's
So
going
so note,
scoliosis.
note this, Sony. Give Spillman his ballerina slippers and he'll be
That's
happy.
right. Nutcracker sweet.
So switching gears and hopping into the world of sports. You know that we're really big here when it comes to our NBA. We love our NBA over here at Movers and Shakers. And so this past Thursday, the NBA released news of their key dates for the upcoming season, and I wanted to highlight some of them. So just to go down the list, and then after that, Spill, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. So the 79th NBA regular season, it will tip off on Tuesday, according to the release, will tip off on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. There's going to be a doubleheader that day on TNT. The first game will be between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. And our next game will see the Minnesota Timberwolves visiting your Los Angeles Lakers, Spillman.
Yeah,
Uh,
boy.
I'm going to keep going down a few other points, and then I'll punt it over to you. We're going
Yeah,
to have
yeah, yeah.
NBA. It's going to feature 5 games on Christmas because I always enjoy our Christmas games that we have with the NBA. And this will be for the 17th year in a row with ESPN platforms, televising, each matchup. On ESPN, the first game will have the Spurs facing the Knicks in New York in a first-time matchup on Christmas Day at noon Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a first-time matchup on Christmas Day of our Western Conference finalists, so a rematch between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Continuing on with the games that we'll have, we have ABC and ESPN. They're going to air 2 games as the Celtics will host the 76ers at 5 p.m. and the Lakers will visit the Warriors at 8 p.m. And to wrap up that day, on Christmas Day, we'll have ESPN seeing the Suns hosting the Suns. Last but not least, we're going to have the play-in tournament. So these are for those teams that will be, getting those last slots for the playoffs. It will be happening between Tuesday, April 15th, and Friday, April 18th, followed by the start of the playoffs, which will be on April 19th. A very awesome birthday present. Game one of the NBA Finals 2025 will be starting and getting set on Thursday, June 5th. So Spillman, I mean, there are plenty of other key dates that the press release provided, but just out of those couple of things between, our tip off of the first couple of games, along with, those Christmas Day matchups and even the playoffs, are there some things perhaps that I, touched on that you're excited about? Or maybe there's some things that just in the release itself that maybe I didn't touch on, you wanted to highlight as well?
Well, I am excited to see LeBron and the Lakers defend our in-season tournament
Oh,
championship that we won last year. Because we was the inaugural champion of the in-season tournament. Nobody else had won that ever in the history of the NBA, thus making LeBron James the GOAT. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about making sure that we make it to the playoffs again. Hopefully, we can get those Lakers into the conference finals at least again. That would be interesting to see. I'm interested to see some of the new people that moved around. Paul George moved to the Sixers. I don't think that means that the Sixers are going to do anything, but maybe they will. We hope to see them do well. Shout outs to my boss. He's a big Sixers fan, and he's been pretty sad. So maybe Paul George is just what they needed. But sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Live podcasts.
you're fine.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. I'd like to see what the Warriors do this year. Now they've lost Clay. Clay showing up in Dallas. I have said on this show that I thought Clay was washed up. So if he goes to Dallas and shows out, I'll eat my crow. I'll try to see if we can get one off of Amazon or something. But I'm sure that the algorithms don't want you eating crow on the internet. That seems like something that you can get arrested for. But just, I'm interested in that. I want to see what Clay does, especially with you as a Warriors fan. But we'll see.
We'll see. I will say this, I am excited about, some of those things that we did touch on. I will be fascinated to see what will happen with the play-in tournament. They christened it with a new name. I don't know if you're aware of this, Spills, with the I believe they call it the Cup now, if I recall, the NBA Cup. Let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah. So now it's actually called the and I apologize if I'm butchering this, but the Emirates NBA Cup. So like they rechristened it with a new title. But I will be fascinated to see how the players react to this this tournament, considering what the reaction was last year. One thing that I will say is that I do enjoy the courts that they the
Those
custom
are
courts.
very good courts.
Those
Yeah.
custom courts are kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, but outside of that, I really don't see the skeptical, cynical side of me doesn't really see the value of this this tournament that they have that they started last year. It just seems like a reason just to say, hey, for the NBA to say, hey, look at us, we have things that are happening right now that are important versus our postseason. Like it just seems like a way just to hold viewers versus something that actually has actual impact for the players themselves. And I mean, yes, from what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that there's a prize at the end, like a monetary prize, if I recall.
I think it's $500,000.
Yeah, but I mean, in the context of an NBA player, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure
Hey, $500,000 spends like any other monies, man. You could buy,
that's
you could buy you a nice
though.
$500,000. That's a Bentley. Who don't want a Bentley? After taxes, that's definitely a nice little.
When you're making that type of money, it doesn't really seem like that much of an impact. If it was a little more than that, I could
You
see.
only
But
saying that because y'all got kicked out last year.
Yeah, but you
Y'all
guys
played
still
them games for nothing.
you guys still didn't finish though. So
I mean, we didn't win a championship, sure, but
yeah,
we won a
the one that matters.
Emiratis Cup. I imagine they might let you fly for free for a little bit on that airline if they're naming it. You might get some frequent flyer miles or something.
Yeah,
Maybe a
yeah.
commercial.
So,
Hey, that also. Hey, if you get that Emirati money, I don't know, man. That's good money to have.
hey, look, the
Be a
goat.
brand partner.
So
Yeah, we'll
I picture
see.
that goats win the games that matter, but that's for another
I mean,
conversation.
that game matters. I mean, it is in the book. It's
Yeah,
got a Wikipedia page for
yeah.
this championship we won last year, the in season cup.
But I was gonna say, be all that as it may, with the with with the Lakers and the Warriors. Even outside of that, I think
There's some
another
people.
thing I was gonna say, even outside of that, one thing that I feel like is not really getting enough credit are some of the storylines that we have with players that are returning. Like I think we can both agree that Ja Morant was, he was elevating that team, and then it just, fell apart with a multitude of circumstances that we don't need to get into. That we, all folks know if you look it up of personal matters that he had, and then of course the injury that kind of
And he
like
had beef with Drake. Don't forget the beef with Drake.
like I said, a lot of circumstances. So hopefully, he's able to get past all of that and really focus on basketball, because when he focuses on basketball, he's a force to be reckoned with. I think we could both, agree to that. Whether we're a Lakers fan, Warriors fan, he's a force to be reckoned with. And he was he was having that trajectory last season, that momentum going into the season, and then it kind of all fell apart. So hopefully this season he's able to maintain that, and we can really see what he's capable of when he's firing all cylinders like he was doing at the start of last season. um I was going to say, outside of that, also looking at Zion Williamson,
I was
he's
about to say him. We
I
left
was
him
going to
out. I
say
wanted to say
he
Zion
you've
looking
had
like
a
a
lot of up
beast.
and down moments in the season where, like, you had those moments like, wow, okay, he's really turning a corner. And then you have those moments like, oh, okay, this is old Zion going back to his old habits. And then it's like, oh, okay, he's turning the corner. And then he's going back to his old habits again. And then he's getting injured. Like, hopefully he can have a consistent season, and he doesn't have a season like one of your boys, Street Clothes. Hopefully he has
What do you
a
mean? A season where he takes the team to the conference finals or the championship?
yeah,
He's in
a
4 years
season
in
where
the
he can stay
Lakers. He's
healthy.
he's
A
he's
season
won
where he
more
can stay
playoff
healthy.
games. You know,
I'm saying, to AD's credit, a season where he was able to stay healthy for a good majority of it. Hopefully, we can see that type of
it might
effort
be New Orleans if we're being honest.
and that consistency. I'm saying from Zion Williamson, because if
Yeah.
he's capable of doing that again, just like with Ja Morant, who knows where he would be able to elevate that team to and elevate himself to.
And
Because I
also the
mean,
Grizzlies got that kid Edie that might be good with Zion, who's like a baby Steven Adams. So we'll see.
okay, correct me. I want to say Edie went to the Grizzlies, or
Yeah,
did he
that's what
go?
I'm talking about. He went to the
Okay, no,
Grizzlies.
you said Zion. You mean with Ja? With
I went
Ja?
with Ja. Yeah, I was talking about
Yeah,
Ja.
Ja. Okay. So, but yeah, like there are a lot of interesting storylines. I am interested to see what happens with the quote unquote NBA Cup now in its second year, and how players respond to that. Because I'll be honest with you, it doesn't seem like a lot of players are really buying into that, which is I feel why I'm sorry, why the Lakers won, because they were more invested than the other teams were. I feel like the other teams were just trying to get their footing and just trying to get ready for the season. And they, big picture wise, they didn't really care all that much. But to LeBron's credit, it's one of the things that he has that makes him a terrific player. He's able to galvanize the troops, and to get players
And
on
to
his
get to
team
the
to be on one
gold.
page,
That's right. Get to that
and
gold.
convince them that it has merit and worth. So because of that, the team really played with the mission and won it. But I think it's
I will
also,
say this. I
go
will say
ahead.
this. I think that the cup was a harbinger of what would happen with the actual regular season. Because if you look
Okay.
at how the Milwaukee Bucks fizzled out, It was
Hmm.
very similar to the regular season. They were okay, but when the playoffs came, that Dame and Giannis mixture wasn't as strong as we thought it would be at the beginning of last year. So, I know it's fun to make fun of the Lakers for winning things that your team was not even close to being in. I get that. That's hilarious. But I
But
think
didn't
it's
hold on, I was gonna say, wasn't a certain player pivotal in us winning the gold this year? And without
that's right.
him,
LeBron James definitely carried the team, and he won the MVP of the Olympic men's basketball tournament. We were
even
really
though he was
happy to see
bailed out
that.
by a certain Warriors player, he was bailed out the last two games.
I mean, he carried him to those last two games. I mean, if they weren't with him, no, Steph looks amazing. I think that LeBron gets people to come in the off in the Olympics. He'd be like, hey, don't you see how nice it is to play with me and don't nobody want to guard you because they can just be guarding me because I am the best player in the world. If you play with me, we could win another championship. You don't want to play with Draymond. I don't be trying to, hit people in the golden zone or anything. I don't get mad and cuss at referees or nothing or karate chop or put people in a figure four headlock or something like that. That's not what I do. And I could score. Did you know that I could also score? I could pass and score. You don't have that. You don't have that. So maybe they already got rid of Clay. I'm telling you, they didn't re-sign Clay. They should have re-signed Clay. Did you hear how sad he sounded when Steph was talking about Clay not being there? He was like, Clay goes
That,
away in the
that,
summer.
that is one thing we can agree on, Spill. Like how they did Clay, I
They
feel
should have
like they
paid him
did
a
a little
little bit. It
dirty.
was like a little bit more money.
They
Just
really
pay him
did
his
a little
money.
dirty.
He got
Because
y'all four chips.
and on top of that, you have to also, outside of the four chips, just the status now of the Warriors. You have to think of where the Warriors were before Clay and Steph were on that team,
They was
like
a
where
joke.
how people perceive the Warriors, and then now that they have won the championships, as you said that they have, in the LeBron era, I might add.
I mean,
Um,
y'all had KD. Let's not talk
in the
about it.
LeBron
They
era,
had
I might add.
KD for most of them, but we'll go. Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Um, where they have elevated the Warriors too, because like a good case in point of illustrating that is where the value of the Warriors, if someone were to purchase the Warriors, how much they were worth prior to those players joining the team, and now what they're worth now, that team,
Yeah.
it's night and day. So, but yeah, no, looking forward to it. It's crazy. We have what, like we're what, halfway into August, so like
This year's
maybe
flown
two
past, ladies
months,
and gentlemen.
like 2 months, basically 2 months. We're 2 months away.
Do you think the Celtics repeat?
No,
No.
I do think they're going to get deep into the postseason. I do have them going at least to the conference finals, but no, I just think that there were so many factors that helped them to get to where they got, and being able to get in the position to win. All the things worked out where we had players that were injured, we had teams that would have been matchup problems for them getting eliminated. Like I feel like the Timberwolves would have been a difficult matchup for them if they
I
got
don't
all the
think
way to
so,
the
but
finals. but
sure, but okay.
but
I feel like
yeah,
the
like
Timberwolves only built to beat Denver. So if they don't see nobody like them, if they don't see Denver,
I'm saying, even similar, even if we're talking about that, I don't think that the Celtics could match up with Denver.
I don't know,
so
man. I don't know. We'll
so like
see.
I
We'll
don't.
see. I think that the Celtics, um, they might repeat. I think they might repeat. I think it really depends on Giannis. I think it's Giannis or the Sixers. They might could match up with them because if they could get because Giannis could bring Porzingis out. Once they could bring Porzingis out, and I'm not sure that those boys could guard. I love Holiday and White. I'm not sure they could guard Dame Lillard if Dame Lillard's playing his game. I don't feel like he was comfortable that last year. He just went through a divorce and all that stuff. I think his head was not in the game. Like, when you
And
going
we
through
and
some
we've
life
seen
stuff,
that. We've seen
yeah.
that. We've seen that when a team has a big acquisition like that, that first year is kind of rough because you're still trying to feel each other out and figure out how to play to each other's strengths. And now that they kind of have a year under their belt now, they could kind of iron out whatever issues they have, and fire on all cylinders more smoothly, I think. I mean, even
for
when
sure.
LeBron was paying with with Bosch and
They lost
uh
that first year.
with Wade. I mean, they got all the way to the finals, but yeah, like that was even despite the fact that they had gotten all the way to the finals, even throughout the regular season, they were having some growing pains themselves because they
Hmm.
were trying to figure out, between Wade and LeBron, whose team it was. So, and who was, leading that team. But yeah, we'll see. Excited for the season. Crazy to believe, like I said, we
Oh,
have only
last one. What about Wimby? Do you think Wimby makes a turn after that heartbreaker in the gold medal game?
I think so because now that he has had a taste of winning and where he stacks up. The fact that they got all the way to that gold medal game, and knowing that in
He
terms
was
of
the
the
best player on that team. They wouldn't have got there without him. Yeah.
in terms of the world stage, he now has a clear picture of where he stacks up against competition across the world. I think now he's going to have that confidence going into this season of being able to do what's necessary to help that team take the next step. Now are they going to go to the finals? I don't believe so, but I do see them at least making it to the postseason. So I don't
Yeah,
know
for
how you
sure.
feel about that, but I do feel like he will take a step forward this
I
year.
think they're going to take a step forward. He might make the semis. I think we would be surprised he might make the semis, but that's really pushing it. I think for 82
Yeah,
games, but
yeah,
I think I think he's definitely going to be flirting with the MVP this year, because he does
sure.
everything. He just does everything, and there's nothing you can do about it. He could
He's a
shoot.
unicorn, man. He's a
Yeah,
unicorn. He can
he's a
pull.
true unicorn. Yeah,
So
we'll
But
see.
all right, switching gears to our main topic that we're going to talk about today, and you saw it there in the background. As I said, typically whenever we do this show, we always have our background photo as our quote unquote main event or our main story. And as you can see there, we have the DC Black Film Festival. It just wrapped up yesterday, this weekend, and that's actually where I was this weekend, which played a role into us having the show today. If you guys are, unfamiliar with the DC Black Film Festival, I'll go into, a brief synopsis of its mission. It's dedicated to exhibiting, quality film, web series, and television content by and about people of African descent. It supports emerging artists striving to add diversity to the images, tastemakers, and storytellers working in the entertainment industry. It's committed to playing, an integral role in discovering, celebrating, and helping films and filmmakers by bringing them to the attention of the industry, media, and public. And as an inclusive festival, again, this is the mission statement that it has that you can find on the website. The only stipulation for submitting that this film festival has is that one or more of the above the line crew is of African descent. With that stipulation, the festival seeks to ensure that at least one of the key decision makers or performers in a film are of African descent while keeping the doors open for artists of all ethnicities to submit. Now, this is my second year having a chance to attend the festival, and I wanted to also give a shout out to the founder and the creator, which you see the picture there, Mr. Kevin Sampson. Um, Good dude, and in talking about the film festival in and of itself, it was a pleasure to be able to be at the festival this year. This was as I said, the second year that I was at the festival, and I had an opportunity to be able to host and moderate a couple of the Q&As, and just like in prior years, there was an impressive selection of films that were highlighting, the condition, the condition of what it means to be a person of color. And it was great to have so many artists and creatives there that were at, all stages of the filmmaking process. We had some of the actors on hand there, and then we had of course we had some of the filmmakers and producers, and we had some folks that were carrying multiple hats, where they were the producer, the writer, and the director, or perhaps they were the actor and the filmmaker. So, Spillman, I want to be able to give you an opportunity to go, to this festival, in the future. I know we weren't able to make it, this year, but just based off the mission of what the film festival is about, what are your thoughts on perhaps being able to make it out in future years?
Well, I will say that a lot of the things that I've said about film on this podcast are the things that something like this film festival will fix, putting an eye on unique ideas, changing the narrative on what is a person who should belong in a movie or whose ideas should be expressed therein. I think that's very interesting, and I think that that's very important for film because film is a business, but it's also an art form. And if we do not support the people who are making the art, the business will, run it into the ground and then it won't be something anymore. It could, it could go the way of certain other art forms that have gone the wayside because it became too commercialized. And once it loses the soul, it can't be the film that we think it is. And it's crazy how that happens because you do have to make money to make films. So that's just the nature of the beast. You have to make money to make films, but to put a spotlight on black directors, black actors, black screenwriters, black costume directors, black cameramen, and more so, that's just a great opportunity. I perused some of the list of the films, and they seem like very interesting and awesome opportunities to check out some new um, art, and that's great. Personally, I really do love film. I wish I could check out some of them. I imagine that some of them would be very cool to pop into. Um, I do like arts in the city and doing those kind of things. So that's very cool. But I think that we really need to focus on the craft of filmmaking and making good films because we're so cookie cutter now. Like they made a movie about Pop Tarts a couple of months ago and promoted it very bigly. Like, I like the actors and stuff that was in it, but like, come on, man, that's a corporate shill. If there's anything, how did they make? No one is like. I wonder how they came up with the idea for Pop Tarts. No one has ever wondered that. Like, no one's ever eaten a Pop Tart and be like, man, my heart burns with desire to know where Pop Tarts come from. What is the truth of Pop Tarts? I want to understand the nature of the people that created it. And it's just one of those things. I just think it's a great opportunity to put ideas on new ideas because new ideas is what really is the game. I feel like that's what these corporations are trying to do because new ideas are the ones that really catch on. You look at things like Star Wars. Star Wars was a new idea. Jaws, that's a new idea. Jurassic Park, new idea. Some of these seem like no brainers now, like, oh, we're going to make a movie with dinosaurs that are photorealistic. That seems like it's a no brainer, but they had to take a chance on it. I don't imagine they could do a new project like that. Like, I can't think of too many movies that I've gone to see this year that were actually new projects, like that were brand new, that weren't a sequel or a remake or a remake of a
No, I
remake.
know. I know. It's funny because I don't remember who had sent it, but I had shared it. I feel like it was like a TikTok or it was a IG reel where like a person was talking about, oh, what's in movie theaters now? He's like sequel, 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 remake, prequel, sequel, requel. It's like every single one that was out was a sequel, a prequel, or a remake of some kind. And so it just goes to show, unfortunately, it, it it goes to show where we are in terms of the state of filmmaking. But while a lot of people, complain about, originality, part of it is our fault as the audience
It is
because
our fault.
what we show, what we go to see is going to determine to studios what needs to be made. And so if we're not going to see films that are original and supporting those films that are non-sequels, that are non-remakes, that are non-prequels, then that's all we're going to get. Studios are going to respond to those things that are generating revenue, that are generating money. And so we have a hand as audience in shaping the movies that we want to see. If we want to see more of a certain kind of film, we have to support those types of films. And so, like, case in point, when we're talking about films, made by, folks of color, if we're talking about those types of films, it was refreshing to be able to see a lot of films that kind of give us a look at certain characters that we, in terms of characters of color that we would otherwise not see. Because so oftentimes when we're talking about a lot of those films that, as you said, Spillman, are cookie cutter, it runs the habit of falling into certain character character archetypes, right, or stereotypes, and it very easily falls into those categories versus trying to think outside the box and create characters and stories that are more original or are more indicative of what we see, in our world today. So unfortunately, it still takes having festivals of this type that are very niche, that allow, creatives to be able to release, these types of stories. But hopefully, by, putting shining a light on a lot of these stories, and having more of these stories, that these, events, that highlight, stories about persons of color, will be able to continue, not to say that it hasn't gotten into the mainstream, but will continue to become in the mainstream, so much so that, it will, while it will still be nice to have niche events like this, it will allow us to have more of these stories in a, in a mainstream context with a lot of our other, events, and in our, movie theaters.
Agreed. And also, the studios. We know that y'all come and poach directors from these kind of places. Look at what Get Out did. Get Out kind of revitalized the horror genre. If you get new people in, new people don't make movies that are bad generally. Because if you're going to be putting it in film or putting your money into the film and putting your time into it, you want to make it good. You don't want to make it bad. So I just think that when things are labors of love rather than pure cash grabs, I think that things turn out better in life and in cinema. Like, the girl that just wants that money from you probably is not going to stick around like the girl that really likes you and want to hang out with you, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to make it that simple, but that's how the world works. You can't trust them. Then that's the same way we're making movies. If you're making a movie to make money, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. Look at the Morbius and Madam Web. They made that movie to make money. They made Madam Web to make money, and it did not make any money. It did not.
Yeah.
You could argue they made Deadpool not to make money, but to like pay homage, and they really took their time with it. And you could tell that the people involved in it really cared about the movie, and it wasn't just, all right, well, this is our set piece. We're going to have a big scary monster at the end. Boogity boogity, it's going to eat you. Now act surprised. Now we're going to collect our bales of cash. No, that's not how it works. So to me, I like really think we should do more to speak with our wallets, because they really aren't even giving us the opportunity to speak with our wallets, because they don't put out movies like that anymore. Like, obviously they have things, the art house type movies, AFIs, if there's an AFI near you, or other kind of movie house like that, that will have more avant-garde movies. But for the most part, if you go into your megaplex, it's Marvel, corporate shill, remake. So, we just got to do better.
We do for sure.
Yeah.
So, that's going to wrap up this edition of this week in pop culture. I want to thank you guys for, enjoying the show live. I know we had, some folks that were, observing. I was keeping track of it. Some folks that were observing it live, and then of course those of you that catch us after the fact. Um, just to give you guys a reminder, just know you guys probably have seen a notification of it, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. Just know on Facebook that you guys are, if you enjoy a lot of these shows, are able to throw stars our way. So, like, if you're, if
Show the
you
love,
want
ladies and
to,
gentlemen.
if you want to be able to show that support of, what we do here with our streams, just know that you can send some stars our way, because it goes away in being in allowing us to be able to continue to bring this content to you
Mhm.
guys. So with that out of the way, I want to punt it over to Spillman. Spillman, tell folks where they can find you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Truly Spill on Instagram. You can, follow me through all my adventures. You know, as I said, we try to build community here at Movers and Shakers Unlimited and try to share some of that love. Make sure you give us the hearts and the love that we need. Let's go.
All right, excellent. So again, you can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X, and then of course Brandon Choi underscore ENT on Instagram. As I said, thank you guys so much for watching. Know that again, you can show your support, as I said, with the stars and also with the thumbs up on the YouTube end. And outside of that, we will be here next week. Will more than likely, I'll keep you guys posted. It more than likely will happen on Sunday. I'll let you guys know that now because uh, I will be elsewhere on the other side of the U.S. Being able to take part in one of the conventions that are happening in Colorado Springs. More on that soon. So, with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there and see you soon, guys.